this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Get It Right Texoma with the Texoma Trio, Mike Hendren, Terry McAdams, Trey Sorrellis. So happy to have you with us once again. We come here, we try to drop 3 episodes a week. Is what we're trying to do, consistently. 3 episodes a week, where we get together and we entertain and inform our audience, and we focus on...
By the way, it's on the old college schedule. Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah, I remember that. And I hated Tuesday, Thursday classes for some reason.
An hour and a half long.
I know.
Hour and 20 minutes or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Terrible. And but we try to focus on news and events and happenings around the local area. We also throw in some regional, state, national, international, interstellar even news from time to time. And just taking a look, giving you our perspective and our view on the world around us and the news of the day. So thanks for being with us and giving us some of your time. We appreciate you watching on YouTube. Obviously, if you're seeing us, that's how you're seeing us. We're also available on Apple Podcasts and also on Spotify as well.
Yeah, go check out Get It Right Texoma.com.
That's right.
Get It Right Texoma.com. Not Get It Right.
Yeah. Get It Right.
How do you spell that?
Yeah,
How many U's is that, Terry?
So, but then Facebook, of course, just search for Get It Right Texoma, and you'll see it there, and you'll see our pretty faces. And
Well, you'll see some faces.
Really? Oh, okay. Oh, wow. She's talking about us. All right. Yeah. And anyway.
You're going to hold something up.
Yeah. Have to balance your own camera.
There you go.
Anyway. Also be sure to share it across all your social media platforms with your friends, your family, your neighbors, your coworkers, people that you love or people you hate. Just share it with them.
We are the only weekly news source, longer form news source in Texoma.
Yes, we are.
That focuses on local. I mean, you do have your TV3 and your Channel 6, and they do a great job.
But they're not long form.
But they're 2 minute, or 1 minute and a minute and a half or whatever. Their stories are edited. If you've ever done an interview for one of those, you'll talk for 20 minutes or 15 minutes, and there's 12 words or whatever, or 23 words or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
So this is the only place that you can come and you can get interviews, long-form interviews. We do 30-minute interviews with the mayor and Chamber of Commerce president and the superintendent of schools and other local officials. And we do long-form 30-minute interviews with those folks, and as well as focus on local. And we'll talk about a story. We won't talk about it for a minute and a half. Right. We might talk about it might be a 3-minute story or 5-minute story, or it may be a 20-minute story.
We elaborate.
Yes.
That's right.
We elaborate. Yep. Which you don't get that with the local television news. Well, their format, they're in the time restrictions that they're under. They just don't. Right.
Their
format doesn't allow for that.
It's not a knock on them. It's just a format issue. Yeah. Even the radio, we have a lot more lateral than we had at the radio time. Yeah. Because the radio, you had the hard breaks. Yeah. Top of the hour, bottom of the hour.
One of the benefits to a podcast like this is you can put it on in the car or, while you're working or whatever and listen, and it can be part of the background while you're driving or working or whatever.
Right.
But you can't really do that with television news. You got to, if you're going to sit down and watch a newscast, you got to commit to sit down at a particular time, at an appointed time, appointment viewing, as they call it, 6 o'clock or 10 o'clock, and watch that. How many of us actually sit down, we're there in front of the TV at 6 o'clock or 10 o'clock to watch the news anymore?
Right. Oh, yeah. You can DVR it and watch it whenever you want to.
You can.
But how often do people do that?
I think very few people probably do that. Yeah. Most of us now we're getting our news, our weather, our information on a device. We're getting on our smartphone or our tablet or our laptop or whatever, and so we're getting it through a device, and we're watching it on demand. Right. We're getting what we want when we want it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How often does it throw you guys? Even though I do kind of like commercials, but does it throw you guys to where, if you're watching something on demand and it is something that you have to pay for the advertising, they run commercials and you can't fast forward through the commercials, and it's kind of like, it seems like forever. When used to, it was just normal. You just sat through the commercial. The commercial was the commercial. But
Or
now
you got up and went to the bathroom. Or
but now it just seems like those commercials last so long, and they really don't.
Yeah,
no, they're no longer. In fact, they're shorter.
Yeah.
They're shorter than they've ever been.
On connected TV, especially on the...
Most of them are 15s.
Yeah.
15-second spots.
Well, usually though, what I see is about an hour, about a minute of it might be 50-second spots or less, but there might be some of them back to back.
Oh yeah.
Or the one that really is a pain in the ass is where they run the same commercial 3 times in a row. It's a 15-second commercial.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need to know how many about Tide, and I can recite the damn commercial by the end of it.
Right. But and that ought to be an episode we cover all this, you know.
Well, that's funny. It's one of those deals from, if I was an advertiser, I would not be happy with that, knowing that I'm not getting different. I paid for 3 ads, but I didn't get any different eyeballs.
But you're exclusive, though, in many cases.
Yeah, but when you, I think when you say the same thing over and over, I don't think it's as effective.
Yeah. No, then in that case, I think the advertiser, I'm sorry, not the advertiser, but the program, whoever owns that channel or whatever, needs to get back with the advertiser and say, hey, you know, let's vary that up a little bit.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'm sure the advertiser's not telling them that. It's probably just I'm sure it's randomly picked. It's they throw it in the hopper and do the random pick.
Oh, there's so much I could tell you.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, it's the thing that the ads that kill me are the dadgum ads for any kind of a drug. It's 30 seconds of the drug, and then it's another 30 seconds of all the bad crap it's going to do to me.
Well, no, it's actually, they talk about
the potential side effects.
Right, but they give you the view and they make your life as wonderful because you have, and you and your wife are going to, get it on now. I'm just saying, that's what it is. And then they give you they can have a heart attack and death is possible, blah, blah, blah.
How the hell is death a side effect? How is that a side?
Death is a side effect of living, though.
I mean, come on.
Anything could result in death. Walking down the street could result in death.
Yeah.
Waking up in the morning could result in death.
This pill might get me going, but it could kill me. You know, it's
premature death.
Oh. Woo, man.
But you're happy when you did. No.
Wow.
They get you in the morgue.
What kind of shows are you watching, Terry? The only commercials you see are...
They get you in the morgue. Yeah, he was in a good mood when he died.
The moon pill or whatever. Have you seen those?
No.
Or Cialis, isn't that one of them?
What's one of them.
Yeah. So, there you go.
Oh, well. Anyway, we'll send you a bill, whoever makes that. Anyway, moving on here. Texas Ranch Roundup is coming up July the 19th and 20th at the MPEC. Where it'll happen.
Multi-purpose event center.
Yes.
The Texas Ranch Roundup is different than a rodeo.
Right.
It is actually working ranches. These are real working cowboys on ranches. They come in and they compete in competitions that are similar to what it's an offshoot of what they do on the ranch. They usually don't milk a wild cow on the ranch every day. Right. But at one time they did, but there's like cutting horses and that sort of thing. There's just a lot of neat events. And it's real working cowboys. They're competing for pride.
Yeah,
bragging
rights. Yep,
and the whole thing.
Yeah. Now it's still a fundraiser for the North Texas Rehab Center.
I believe that's right. Yeah,
and so it is used as a fundraiser for a nonprofit. But yeah, they get bragging rights for it. And for a year they get to puff their chest out and go, "Hey, we're the best ranch in Texoma."
That's right. And Casey Donahue is performing on Saturday night. I don't know if there's any tickets available. I'd be surprised if there were.
I'd be surprised if there still are, but this close. I mean, we're literally a week away, right? So I mean, at this point, as of the recording of this podcast. So, but again, July 19th and 20th at the Multipurpose Event Center. Then coming up on the 20th, same weekend, the Fallstown Summer Jam, 701 Austin, from 2 to 11 p.m. And there's going to be country music. They're going to have rock and roll music, hip hop. I don't know what else they're going to.
I think those are the things. I don't think they're going to have slow jazz or anything like that.
If somebody could show up with bagpipes, who knows? Anyway, it's going to be the Fallstown Summer Jam again, July 20th at 701 Austin Street, downtown Wichita Falls, y'all. Now, we've been talking about local eateries, restaurants, that kind of thing, drinkeries and whatnot, focusing on truly locally owned establishments.
Yeah.
And we want to throw out a mention here for Pat's Drive-In. This is another one of those legendary local eateries. I'm not sure how long Pat's has been around, but as long as I can remember.
I happen to know. And if you look, this is from Pat's. I went by there a couple of days ago, and I told them, hey, this is what we're doing now. And I said, do you have any particular things you want us to mention? Yeah. Now, it's the same owners for 56 years.
Wow.
Now, Pat started in North Side, over basically by where the MPEC is now, or that area there.
Yes.
I don't remember what street it was, but I can remember being a kid. They had a walk-up window as well. They had you could walk inside or walk up. And my favorite Pat story, I didn't like mustard as a kid, like yellow mustard. So I always got mayonnaise on my burgers. And they used to do like the short order cook. And I'm not sure if it was Pat or who it was. It was an elderly woman. Or not elderly to me at the time.
Yeah.
I was a little kid. Yeah. It was a woman who was old, who was a grown woman.
When you're 10, 30 is elderly.
I think I was about 5 or 6. But anyhow, I ordered a hamburger, a cheeseburger with mayonnaise, and she turned around and said, "Sissy burger." Which I puffed up like a bullfrog, but damn sure didn't say a word because my dad would have killed me if I'd have said anything. You know what I'm talking about? But they've had the same owners for 56 years. The buns are still toasted on the grill. They still do that. That's a little extra thing they do. They fresh cut their fries every day. And the onion rings are all battered fresh every day. And it is honestly one of the best burgers you're going to find anywhere. There's some great burgers out there, and Pat's is really at the top of my list. And my favorite is the Porky. It's a burger. It's a burger with a piece of ham on it.
Really?
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. See, now I've had a lot of bacon cheeseburgers.
Yeah, I love bacon cheeseburgers, but the ham is just a little different. The Porky is awesome.
Yeah. Bacon crisp or not crisp? What do you like?
Don't care. I don't like it. I don't like it too crunchy.
Yeah, I guess just not super crisp.
See, I like mine crisp. And it's hard to find anybody that cooks it that way.
Break your tooth on it.
Just tell them to leave it there. Leave it on the grill or whatever.
Just burn it a little longer, you know?
Yeah, I don't want it where you bite into it and it splits into 8,000 pieces like a shard. But anyhow, so Pat's Drive-In, they're on Scott Street. They, like I said, they were in Northside at one time, but they've been basically where the old Steak and Egg, if you've been around Wichita Falls for a long time, on Scott Street.
Well, it was Steak and Ale.
Yeah,
and it was affectionately referred to as
Steak and Egg.
Was it Steak and Egg?
Yeah, Steak and Ale was a different store.
Okay.
It was Steak and Egg.
Well, they called it Steak and Leg.
Yes, yeah, it was not the establishment that it is now. No. But it's on Scott Street. It's really pretty close to the corner of Scott and 5th. Uh-huh. It's not all the way to 5th Street, but it's fairly close to there.
Yeah.
Not
far from where your location.
No, it's just right down. It's just right across the river from us.
Yeah.
It's right next to the bus station.
Yes.
They put the Clarence Muhlenberger bus station in a few years ago.
Yes.
It's right across the street from the bus station.
Which, by the way,
they've been there a long time.
It's like the nicest bus station this town's ever had.
Oh yeah, it's a great bus station.
It's still a bus station, but it's a nice bus station.
That's true. But go check them out. Pat's Drive-In. They're open. They're open every day through the week. I believe Monday through Friday. And they stay open till like 7 o'clock at night as well. Yeah. So you can get dinner there. And I'm not sure. I think they're open on Saturdays. I doubt they're open on Sundays.
Yeah, I don't think they are
on
Sunday. Yeah, I think they are closed on Sunday.
Yeah,
for sure. So, a new study ranks Lake Wichita as the 3rd dirtiest lake in the country. The study was released by Lake.com. It used data from the National Water Quality Monitoring Council, which is part of the Environmental Protection Agency. The findings indicate Lake Wichita has an odor, no kidding, contains high volumes of total dissolved solids, again, really, an unusually high pH of 9.9, and chemical analysis shows water near the dam is cloudiest of all the 276 U.S. lakes sampled between January of last year and May of this year. The study was done at a time when the water was very low due to a lingering drought. Construction of Lake Wichita was completed in 1901, making it one of the oldest lakes in Texas.
I think it's the second oldest lake in Texas.
Yes. And then
there aren't, but what, 1 or 2 natural lakes?
There's one natural lake in the entire state, and that's Caddo Lake in East Texas.
Actually, there's 2. But the other one's a privately owned lake. There's one down by Houston.
Oh, is there?
Yeah,
okay.
but you can't. It's a privately owned lake, so nobody talks about it. Yeah, Caddo Lake is the only publicly owned natural lake.
Yeah, Caddo Lake borders Louisiana, and it's the only publicly accessible natural lake in Texas. Every other lake in this state is a man-made reservoir.
That's right.
And they all get silted in over time. Sediments wash in. It happens. And Lake Wichita was never a very deep lake to begin with. It was a shallow water lake from the start.
Right. Well, you have to understand, it was built in 1901.
Yeah.
Wichita Falls wasn't massive in 1901.
No.
It was the principal. It was built to be the principal water supply for Wichita Falls at the time.
Yeah.
But then Wichita Falls had a growth explosion.
Yeah. Well, when we had 6,000 people, that worked.
Yeah, or
whatever the number
yeah.
was. You know.
Yeah, but there was a growth explosion, and then that's when Kickapoo was built, and like Arrowhead and those sort of things. So,
Well, Arrowhead didn't come online until 67.
right. Well, there was a massive growth between 50 and 60 in Wichita Falls. So anyhow, it's one of those deals. It is what it is. It's what bothers me a little bit is the headline, because the headline read "New study ranks," and it didn't say. I don't think it even said Lake Wichita. I think it said area lake dirtiest.
Yeah.
And I had to dig to get Lake Wichita.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, it said area lake ranked third in the nation, and dirtiest lake.
So you immediately get this connotation just reading the headline. They must be talking about Lake Arrowhead.
Yeah, the Times Record News says study ranks area lake.
Yeah,
third dirtiest.
That's right.
as third dirtiest in the U.S.
That's what. It is what
our
it is.
buddy over there, Lynn.
But
Walker.
that's your immediate study ranks area lake. Why not put Lake Wichita? And now I read it because I thought, really, Arrowhead? I mean, I know Arrowhead's not pristine, but it's not that bad.
Well,
and so I read into this. So.
Well, I have heard comments and read social media. God help us all. Comments from a number of people about, well, they should dredge out Lake Wichita, then we could have, instead of building Lake Ringgold, then we could have another water source. Lake Wichita could never. You could quintuple the depth of that lake.
It is there,
and it would never still not be enough volume of water in that lake to supplement what's needed in this city.
Oh, it's a shallow lake. It's only so large. It's not a very large lake. Look at an area map of it. Look at it next to Lake Arrowhead.
Yeah, it could fit into one corner of Lake Arrowhead.
It's a fairly small lake. Yeah.
So you can't expand the surface area of the lake. There's no way to do that without basically taking people's property away from them, and you know how that'll go over. Yeah. And we're not going to do that. So your only option is to deepen the lake, to dredge the lake. And from what I've been told by people with the Save the Lake committee that was put together years ago to try to help revive Lake
Austin
Wichita.
Cobb talked about it when he was in here with us.
A wet dredge is the most effective, but it still costs tens of millions of dollars.
Right, and there is some plans, there are hopes to do some dredging, but it'll never be a water supply.
No.
It'll only be a recreational lake. Right. Just like Lake Gordon in
Iowa Park.
It's a small, shallow lake, but it's a recreational lake.
Yeah.
So a little bit of dredging and some things like that. The biggest problem you have with lakes, and I'm not an expert on this, but I do know a little bit, that when you have vegetation that goes away and you lose your fish and that sort of thing, that's what keeps your lake dirty, or helps compound the dirtiness in your lake. When you have life in the lake, when you have fish and you have plants and that sort of thing, that stuff acts as a natural biofilter.
Right.
So if they can dredge it, get some plants back in there, get some fish back in that lake, that lake will clean itself up over time.
Well, the whole biome or whatever you'd call it is out of sorts because it got during the drought and everything. I mean, it got so low. I mean, it was most of it was even dry.
Part of it was that, but also part of it is the old. It's silted in a whole lot from the Holiday Creek. Before they did the Holiday Creek project,
yes,
they used to have a lot of problems out there with water that would run in and massive rushes of water, and that killed a lot of the fish and stuff like that in those days too. So it was a combination of a lot of things that has happened to this little lake. Yeah. But the lake was built in 1901, and there's a lot of lakes that were, well, like you said, there's a lot of lakes who were built there in that time period that are no longer.
Yeah, they're gone.
They're gone.
They're gone. Yeah. Well, so the whole point here is that Lake Wichita will never be a drinking water source for our area. It will never be that again. It's gonna be a recreational lake at best, and it's going to take money. And I know, and I can already hear some people say, well, so-and-so said they'd come dredge it for free, and the city said no. I have investigated personally that claim.
That's never happened.
It never happened. It is an old wives' tale. Why would anyone volunteer to come and do a job that normally would cost millions of dollars for free? Who does that?
A shepherd,
Nobody
of course,
does that.
because then they would train everybody.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
they do it for the silt, and it's like,
And do what with it?
dirt is
Dirt's
only worth
cheap.
so much.
Yeah, I was going to say, dirt's cheap.
You know, and then even if you
Some dirt's cheap.
well, even if you did, let's say you did dredge that lake out and you just create a big pile of whatever you pull out of that lake. You think the EPA and TCEQ are going to let you just haul that off and dump it anywhere?
And where are you going to put it?
And where are you going to put it?
Yeah.
And not to mention the fact you're going to have to clean it up. You're going to have to remove certain things from that soil and that silt and all that stuff that you pull.
Particulates.
But yes, well, and there's a lot of God knows what's been dumped in that lake over the years.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
no telling what's been dumped in that lake over the years. So it's never going to be, it will never be a drinking water source. And when I read this, I went, yeah, no kidding. We knew this already. We knew it's a shallow lake. We know it's dirty. We know it's silted in. We know all. You're not telling us. And the only thing that kind of, I went, oh, the pH is 9.9. Okay. And I had to look that up.
Don't believe it.
What that means, But, and what that means for
You
a
didn't know
lake.
what it was?
I did. So I just, that I had to look that up because I'm like, well, okay, well, what does 9.9 pH mean for a lake like that? But other than that, it's like nothing there was shocking. We've known, I've lived here 53 years. For as long as I can remember.
You lived there 52 years.
52, well, almost. Well, I'm going on 50. I'll be 53 in a couple of months.
You've lived here 52 years. You're aging us both.
52. Okay, 52 years, and I think I need a crutch. But anyway, it's as long as I've lived here, that lake has been shallow.
Sure.
It's looked dirty. It's never been great for fishing. Not really.
Now,
Does it actually have fish in it now?
I don't know.
they-
I'm sure there's some. I don't really know. Well, you have people fish out there. Yeah,
Yeah, there
is.
is, but I
There's got to
think
be some fish.
because of the depth of the lake, I think the nominal depth is about 4.5 feet or so.
Oh, you can walk across it.
You can. I wouldn't try it because you're going to lose your tennis shoes if you do. But anyway,
I did
that surprised
in
me.
1989. It was a long time ago.
Just because?
Was alcohol involved at all in it?
Possibly.
Okay, all right.
And a dare was damn sure.
Not the DARE program, right?
But the aquatic life starts to compete for the oxygen in that water and the resources in that water, and the more aquatic life you have, I can see where the oxygen level just starts to drop and drop and drop, and eventually some of that aquatic life has to give way. Some of it's going to die.
Well, the good news on this is there's people that care.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that care. There's a lot of people that invest a lot of time, money, and energy into
And they're
this
working on it.
and keep working on it. So, lakes.com or lake.com, come check it out in about 10 years.
Yeah, come check it out in a few years. Let's talk about the we kind of alluded to this a couple of shows back.
Terry actually inspired this.
Yeah, on the political parties and how they got their names. How did we end up with the Democratic Party and the Republican Party? Who wants to take the lead on that?
Go right ahead, Terry. You're the one who.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
you researched it for me. So,
Well, I mean, it's all right there.
Okay, well, so the Republican Party was founded in the northern United States by forces opposed to the expansion of slavery. So, I thought the Republicans were a bunch of slave owners and wanted slavery.
No.
Well, they
No.
might have been slave owners.
Yeah.
A lot of people are slave owners.
A lot of people are saying,
But, but as time went on,
the Republican Party,
right?
it was.
Anti-slavery. So there we go. Party grew out of opposition to the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which repealed the Missouri Compromise. See, now you're getting into history, man.
Okay, so the Missouri Compromise was whether Missouri was going to be a free state or a slave state.
Okay.
And because the states were divided at the time, and you had free slaves and you had slave states. And so the Kansas-Nebraska Act was trying to repeal the Missouri Compromise to make it a non-slave state.
Okay.
And that's where the name Republican was proposed. There was a public meeting in the of the anti-Nebraska movement, and the name Republican was proposed for the name of the party.
Right.
It was a pay homage of Thomas Jefferson's Democratic Republican Party.
Okay.
I thought that was great. Well, think about it.
Yeah.
There used to be called the Democratic Republican Party during Jeffersonian times.
Yep. Is it a democratic republic? Is that what we kind of are in that we are elected through, or our representatives are elected through a democratic process?
From a pure constitutional standpoint, we are a representative republic.
There we go.
Yeah.
Representative republic. Okay.
But people are elected by a democratic process.
Right.
And that's probably why they call it that.
Right. And then we hire them essentially to go and represent us at, and as a senator or as a
Yes. And a lot of them suck at
representative.
it.
Yeah.
So now, if you go on to the next thing, in 1792, the Anti-Federalist faction led by Thomas Jefferson and the Jeffersonians called themselves Republicans at first and later Democratic Republicans. And the Democrat Party came out of that group.
They split the Democratic and the Republican, and then, yeah.
Well, the Republican weren't even the Republican came later on,
Right.
in 1854. But so in 1828, the term the democracy was used. That's what they called their party. And then the name Democratic Party was eventually settled upon, became the official name in 1944.
Or
1844, I'm sorry. And what happened was you had Republican leaders that were referring to them as Democrats.
Yeah.
And that was a derogatory term. That was supposed to be a derogatory term.
Right. Well, kind of is.
So anyhow, it was kind of you inspired that. I just thought it was interesting to research it and do a little bit of research on it.
So basically, though, for when you keep hearing over and over and over that the end of democracy, this is not democratic, it's not a blah blah blah. Well, they're not totally wrong. It's just that the connotation is that we don't represent anybody officially, or they think that this process that we go through is somehow wrong. But you don't want a pure democracy.
No, you don't.
Because that's where the minority actually loses when there's a pure democracy, because the masses can overrule.
Right. That's one of the biggest reasons we have.
It's a balance, though.
Electoral college.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
So everybody has a stake. So, by the way, I need to correct myself. I said this, and after I said it, I started thinking about this. We're continuing on, and I think I said it backwards. The Kansas-Nebraska Act was supposed to repeal the Missouri Compromise, and that would mean that Kansas and Nebraska would enter as slave states, not free states. And the Republican Party was born out of a group that were against the Kansas-Nebraska Act.
Right, they were out of opposition to
Yes.
it. Yes, but you had that.
In other words, look, the Republicans and everybody not everybody. There were a lot of people across political lines that owned slaves in the back of the time. And I had to talk with a friend of mine not too long ago about this. It's so easy for us to look at people and say, how dare they? Why didn't they know any better? Look, I get it. We all know slavery is horrible, and none of us believe in it. Right. Unfortunately, it still happens today.
In other parts of the world.
And it's not sanctioned by the government.
No.
But it happens. Yeah, unfortunately, some of it happens here, but it's not sanctioned by the government. It's
You're talking about like the
human trafficking, but it has to
essentially
it's not like a color of somebody's skin. It has to do with no colors. It's unfortunate, but my point was, across the world, it was common for people to have slaves. You had a lot of people who were relatively uneducated back in those days. So, yes, we look back, and you can't look back on people in the past through the eyes of our eyes of what we know now and our education that we have now, and say how horrible those people were. A lot of them did horrible things. There's no doubt about it, or things that we consider horrible. But back then, they considered it normal. Mm-hmm. Look at India. Okay, read Empire of the Sun. Mm-hmm. Read that book or listen to that audiobook. It's horrific what those Indians. Gang rape was normal when they caught, and other Indians, not just white families and stuff like that. It was normal to gang rape women and then kill them, scalp them, and some even the Apaches, they would cut people's arms and legs off and then throw them in the fire. and let them burn to death.
Well,
I mean, there were so many, but that was just normal. And us looking back and go, how did those people do that? Well, that was normal. That was
the
in their
medieval
culture.
times. I mean, there's
Oh, yeah,
all
the
of the
tortures and
torture
stuff
and
like
the
Well, I'm trying to remember the.
dungeons and-
It doesn't mean it was good.
No.
It just means that was, we have to look back on it. That was normal for those people with their education level and what they learned.
It was actually illegal to educate certain classes of people, teach them how to read, how to write. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. It just left my brain. The guy that first translated the Bible into the English language and it was illegal to do that.
Well, Gutenberg Press was the one who pressed it.
Well, but this was prior to that.
Right.
This was before that.
Right.
The man who originally translated the Bible into English for the first time, he was pursued by, I guess, the King of England or whomever. They eventually did catch him. He was imprisoned and held for some time, and then he was burned at the stake.
Oh, yeah. Drawn and quartered, burned at the stake, disemboweled.
Yes.
There's all kinds of crazy things that people did.
For translating the Bible into English, that was his crime.
Well, just in the Bible
was his
itself,
crime.
when Christ was crucified, that was a barbaric.
To us, you go, that's horribly
Yeah,
barbaric,
exactly.
but to them, that
But
was a
that
normal
was-
thing.
yeah.
And people gathered around.
Yeah.
I mean, the people followed it up there and gathered around and watched this happen. Little kids, and can you imagine what
Being whipped and
the trauma that the little kids experienced? But once again, if that's your normality, if that's what is normal in your world, we can look at it and say that's wrong. We can pass judgment on anything,
Right.
But my point is, you can't just say those people should have known better, because the fact of the matter, put yourself in that position. If you were living in the 1800s and you were uneducated, you didn't know how to read, write, or do arithmetic or whatever, and everything around you, this was a normal way of life, you just accepted things for what they were.
Yep.
Right. And that
You just didn't know.
and that doesn't mean at all that it was right, as you pointed
No, it's
out.
not
But
right.
but don't
But we
Put it
need
in
to-
context.
We need to put history in context.
Context is correct. Yeah.
You know, I mean, we can look at somebody like a Stalin and a Hitler, and even people then should have known that was wrong and did, because that wasn't that long ago. You know, we're not talking about in the medieval times. We're talking about this century, and there was a lot of educated people or last century. But there were a lot of educated people in last century, and a lot of people across the world knew that was wrong. And so therefore, you can look at them with our lens today and go, yeah, that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, but
When you get back into the 1600s and the 1500s and the thousands and stuff like that, people didn't know.
Yeah, most people were uneducated, had no control over their own lives.
No, zero. And the church and the church exploited that in a lot of ways and basically controlled. So if the preacher who was if you look at go back and not too far in history, the central figure for almost any town or whatever was the preacher.
Yeah.
They were in control because they had the power of God. That was people's idea in their mind. The preacher spoke through God.
And let's not forget that the Nazi Party, the Nationalist Socialist Party,
Right.
that's what they were, and that's what so many of these evil leaders through history have in common, is very socialist.
Yeah.
In their policies, in their leadership, in their rule, very socialist. Some of that even predates Marxism. You know, it just does. And so but socialism, communism is a cancer. I don't give a damn what anybody says. Communism is an outright cancer on this planet. And if you don't believe me, do some research on it.
Well, talk to somebody who grew up in it or lived in it.
Over 250 million people have been murdered by communism in this world in the last 90 years, 100 years. And those are just the ones we know about.
Oh, I think had Hitler and Stalin not been contemporaries, Stalin would go down in history as the greatest mass murderer of all time. He really is with historians, because he literally was. The difference was Stalin killed everybody. Hitler concentrated on a specific group of people, and that was why I think Hitler. When you hear the epitome of evil, you hear Hitler's name, which he was right there. Stalin's right up there with him.
Yeah.
And by the way, you mentioned earlier that in some places it was illegal to educate people. Mm-hmm. There are countries now under Sharia law, it's illegal to educate with girls.
Well, look what's happened in Afghanistan since we left there, since the Taliban took over again. I mean, they're killing women.
Yeah.
They are stoning them to death, cutting their heads off, cutting their hands off.
It's horrible.
It's terrible, and we help to reinvigorate that thuggish regime.
I don't know that we helped reinvigorate it, but we allowed it to happen again.
Well, we left. Number one, the way we left Afghanistan.
That was horrible.
And we left billions of dollars in military hardware on the ground.
That's where you encouraged it. I agree.
And yes, and so we have emboldened this group of thugs.
Yeah, it wasn't because we wanted to, or any. I don't think even crazy Joe Biden didn't sit there and go, "Hey, I want to make these people stronger." I think it was just we got to hurry up and get out of there by a certain time.
But again, I mean, I think especially now in this day and age, how the hell did you not see that coming?
Oh yeah, exactly.
How did you not see that coming?
There's a podcast. I think it was Sage Still's podcast, and she had Byron Donalds, and there's a congressman from Texas, and those two guys were on there, and they talked about their favorite Trump story. And I'm going to real quickly because I know we're running short on time, but go back and look at Stage Shield podcast, Byron Donalds, but something along the lines of Trump was talking to the Taliban when they were talking about a negotiated, we were going to withdraw, but it was going to be a measured withdrawal. And supposedly Trump said during that meeting, it's going to be, I forgot the term they used, but whatever, measured withdrawal, or conditional withdrawal, you meet conditions, we'll withdraw some troops and things like that. But apparently Trump looked at the guy and said, through the interpreter, if you harm one hair on a service member's head, I will kill you. And then he pulled out a picture out of his breast pocket of the guy's house, a satellite picture, and handed it to him, and then walked out of the room. Don't know if that happened that way or not, but that's two congressmen saying that did happen.
Yeah. And somehow I believe that.
Oh, it doesn't sound out of character to me.
Yeah, but between the two characters here, Biden and Trump, definitely Trump would. Yeah. Biden would not have had
he would have turned around shaking the wrong hand.
Yeah.
Anyhow. All right, I know
he'd still be looking for a hand to shake. Yeah. All right. Yeah, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it. This episode has been brought to you in part by Eddie Hills Fun Cycles, 401 North Scott, downtown Wichita Falls since 1966. EddieHillsFunCycles.com, the website. MacTech Solutions at 4020 Ray Road in Wichita Falls, Suite 3B. MacTech-Solutions.com and Lolly and Pop Sweet Shop online at LPSweet.com. I'll get it right here in a minute. And on Facebook, it's Lolly and Pop Sweet Shop, and Lolly is spelled Lollie, and Pop's apostrophe on Facebook. So be sure and look us up. Until next time, guys, y'all take care. We'll see you down the road.